Good morning, guys. Sorry about that. I was uh I was digging through a bunch of old DD to try to find something, so I was yeah. Anyway, how's everyone doing? Yeah, wasn't paying attention to the time. You owe us some DFE cosplay. Weekend's going alright. I'm sick as fuck, so that's been fun. Chaku, welcome back to fucking Pigeon Whale, bro. They're playing out of both. Where's that speaker on? Hold on. There it goes. Okay. It played out of the wrong hole. You'd think after 3 years I'd be better at the streaming thing. Disappointed in the lack of band-aids. I, for one, will say thank you for not wearing band-aids. I didn't even think about it. This is my one opportunity in my entire life to have a Nelly band-aid, and I missed it. You're freaking Chad for finding your old posts in Discord like us for that. There's another video that I remember I made another video or I did a write-up um on like the mechanics behind all this. But I can't fucking find it at all. But if you go look back through like all of my announcements from the month of January, like I have all of the Rex codes and the deferral like handouts posted through like the entirety of that month. Maybe it was this like Megapex video. I mean, it was a complex idea, right? So I must have had to explain it 5,000 times before ultimately giving up. I'm now 85% convinced that the Roaring Kitty troll in the chat was the real Roaring Kitty. You should have banned Darth Dan. Maybe. Nelly? Oh my god, is this 2001? It's 2021. Maybe it'll always be 2021. Allergies? No, I'm sick and I have allergies. It's the best. In the Discord, I mean, you could probably just search my name and then the subject. Although I do think that the person who like helps me out with like the editing and stuff has been organizing the videos on the YouTube, so they should be like somewhat organized. I mean, not a little bit. Mismanaged my port last week after 3 years trading. Needs to stand up and dig me out. Sad. I'm sorry to hear that. That is unfortunate. Last week was rough, especially if we were trading indexes. They were hard to get a good handle on, and the sell-offs were nuts. Thanks, quintessential lean hog. Everyone who's been in GME should have an idea of OPEXs by now. Well, you can understand OPEXs, but then understanding why some OPEXs don't run and others do, I think is like the next logical step of that. And I figured since everybody on Superstonk is reposting my DD and claiming it as their own while still somehow getting it incorrect, I'd post some of my own, right? I love plagiarism. It's the best. With no credit attributed in, right? That's even better. I think this morning's stream wasn't late. It was just deferred T plus 0.15. Exactly. Are Jimmy runs now moot if dilution is more or less a certainty? I don't know. I mean, it depends on how much Cohen's gonna dilute, right? He still has to file though, so there's gonna be a delay. I tried to talk to my friend who owns an investment fund about option strats, and he just goes, "Yeah, I don't do all that. That's why options are so cool, because nobody really does all that." It's the weird illiquid insurance market. While still somehow getting it incorrect is giving them too much credit. Okay, it's demonstrably, their interpretations are demonstrably false. But whatever. What are you gonna do? It's not like the mods there would ever take down plagiarized content. It's pretty cool how multi-year-old DD is still relevant and some of the best info uncovered. Yeah, I know. If you love plagiarism, then you'll love this new thing. It's called AI. They all think it's their opportunity to become an influencer, but they don't realize that when the stock goes back to $20, everyone will forget who they were. What did Rentex AI see in GME for them to sell all those puts just before DFE came back? It's possibly the same thing, right? Bipolar Girk, full Neo level dissection of the market, and simultaneously Mr. Glass in terms of fighting infection and allergens. My immune system is both simultaneously too good and also too focused on fighting allergens. Okay, get a higher risk, and how the fuck would you manage 70 client portfolios with options involved? Easy. Tried to tell me to buy Apple, and I go, yeah, not anytime soon. I'd buy Nvidia first. What do you make of the timing of the earnings release in conjunction with the offering? It seems like the board could have waited and potentially raised more money. I agree. But, I mean, share offerings are rarely, traded at the peaks. The best way for them to do it would be to get an approval for some number of shares, have an offering open, and then just not offer anything until the price hit a level that they wanted to offer it at, right? But get the filing out in advance. So did you figure out the holiday deferrals with the new rules this weekend? I think so. Yeah. Sort of. I mean, we still run into the same problem that we don't know which Rex codes are being used. So we would have to look at two different dates, like two different windows. But yeah, I mean, I know which windows to look at. Would it be worth it to buy GME shares at the bottom again? Will you be buying shares again? Probably not. I might sell puts. If I get assigned on them, then I would own shares, but hopefully I wouldn't get assigned on them. I wasn't kidding when I said I really don't ever want to own stock in GME again. Now, options, on the other hand, that's a whole nother story. Can you give your take on the DFV stream? It made me think of a Mad Hatter type strategy. No, I don't think so. I mean, you guys, a lot of you guys never watched like DFV back in the day, but there was a period where, he was doing the YouTuber thing, like full on being a YouTuber, right? He was trying to build up viewership and followers and doing the like and subscribe stuff, right? And he was gunning for that before GME ever ran, right? Um and so I think that's like his thing. Like he's used to doing that. That's what he did, right? And I think everyone's giving him like way too much shit because my streams aren't like that. But I'm just not like that. I'm not a fucking like positive, energetic person. I'm a miserable, nasty cunt, right? And so it's a little shocking, and I understand that. But that's kind of how he always was. He was always pretty like happy and upbeat and like doing antics, you know. Supra for life. Welcome to Zillionaire. Thank you so much, man. Hit me up on the Discord. I'll get you added after the stream, dude. Have you reached out GFE to make you a new intro and outro video? His are so much better than mine. I don't even have an intro video. My head just pops up in the middle of Weeble when I've finally had enough caffeine to deal with you guys. Yeah, also the dude was piss drunk, right? His Boston accent was coming on thick and slurry. He'd lost 200 fucking $1 million that morning, and he still got up there and fucking did his bit for everybody, right? So, I mean, credit where it's due. That's a rough fucking day. Yeah, absolute fucking legend. Your outro video is legendary. Don't ever downplay that gold. I mean, I think he's making like a public case that, look, I have no effect on the price of the stock. I streamed and it went down, right? I didn't watch his stream. Was it worth it? It was nostalgic. I mean, I don't know. For me, it was kind of nostalgic. I never really watched his streams much back in the day, though, because it was like I didn't like streamers. I mostly just like read his shit on Reddit. Um, but I remember he did one video that was kind of like a synopsis of his, or like one stream where he did like a synopsis of um, his whole like GME DD. And I watched that. Yeah, but it didn't squeeze the stock to the moon or anything, right? There was just a lot of volume. He can't be responsible for that. I mean, if anything, just just publicly disclosing his position, that's probably enough for any legal stuff that might arise. There was never Moas was never part of DFV's thesis, right? He was just like, well, there's a lot of shorts, they might get squeezed. And he just kind of tacked that on to the bull thesis, but it wasn't like that's not why he bought the company. Although I will say that his thesis did not seem as strong today as it was 4 years ago. I thought it was hysterical that he kept like throwing jabs at Cohen. Like, we're gonna do something, right? 3 years is fine. 5 years, that's a bit, you know. He has to absolutely be betting on another run coming if he's still holding after being down 250 million a day while smiling the whole time. Yeah, yeah. I agree with that. He said something about the turnaround being longer than 3 years, and yet has most of his position in options that expire in 2 weeks. He knows something. Yeah, and in my usual egotistical um, manner, I think I know exactly what he knows, but we'll see. We'll go over that here in a second. I don't want to know why anyone is worried about the guy. Last week's unrealized loss for not the dude can afford the best securities lawyers. Yeah, he can. He also dropped comments insinuating he could change his mind about his position. Yeah, well, he could, right? Question, if you don't mind, when you sell condors, do you leg in or open as a whole? Well, it depends. Honestly, like when I'm selling them like 35, 30, 45 DTE, I'm just buying into them. Like I don't really fuck around with the spreads too much. Um, I mean, I don't like I'm not legging in, but I'm also not submitting the order through the complex order book, right? So I'm gonna open, short calls and short puts, and then buy the long calls, long puts. Um, which is legging in, but I'm not focused on getting maximum value. I'm just doing it right away. Um, you want to stay away from the complex order book when you place those. Ideally, now you can't when if you don't have portfolio margin, but ideally because they will fuck you on the spreads as hard as they can. And it generally won't matter over the long run. Like you'll lose a few percentage points on it, but those few percentage points can matter. So I mean, it's better to do it that way, but you don't have to do it that way. Negligible difference in returns. Girk, you keep talking like that. I'm gonna glaze you even harder. I know. DFE probably has some of the best lawyers from BBBY offering to protect him. What do you make of the fact that he made the play and he stated at least that he thinks that RC has done enough? So he's giving RC the same benefit of the doubt that I did throughout 2023, right? And for me, the end of that benefit ran out at the quarter four earnings when they missed again, right? Despite his promise for four consecutively profitable quarters. Now they did get profits on the year, which sure, but they were fucking nothing. And so, you know, he's still holding that torch for him, and I don't necessarily agree with that, but I understand the thesis behind it. I'm not going to argue that there is potential that RC does something, especially now that he has way more money. I always did think that $1 billion was insufficient, but that doesn't mean he's going to, and that doesn't mean the endeavors that he pursues are going to be successful, right? And I'm a big believer in fail and fail and fail until you get it right. But at the same time, he can only fail so much, right? Before he's just wasting everyone's time. And I think that my biggest problem is that a lot of the ideas that GME has pushed forth have been poorly implemented, and kind of I feel like shut down in their infancy, right? Not the NFT marketplace. That was always a stupid fucking idea. But like the e-commerce, like they spent all that money getting those warehouses prepped and the distribution centers prepped and setting up distribution networks vis-a-vis the stores, right? Where they could have really saved a lot of money in their logistics costs by using those single stores as you know transition points within their distribution network. And I thought that was a really great idea. I was super bullish on that. But then, they failed to put together a usable fucking website. They ultimately shut down all of the distribution centers that they'd paid to start. And they were like, well, fuck this. We're just going to focus on the brick and mortar stores. And that was a huge blow for my bull thesis, at least. And that's a large part of why I sold. Look, RC could completely change Jamie into a new company, but why would we wait now for that to happen rather than start to wait for those promising signs to then invest? Well, that's the question with any investment, right? Do you want to be in early when it's cheap and there's a promise, or do you want to be in later when it's more money and there's confirmation? Right? That's true for trades. That's true for investments. Like, that's always going to be. Sorry, I'm still really sick. That's always going to be, something that's in play with any investment you choose. Right? It's going to be cheapest when risk is highest. And so to buy in now, you really have to have a lot of faith. And that's something that personally I don't have. I was willing to hold out because I was making a lot of money on yields, like month over month, yielding 5% on my GME position, kept me in GME probably far longer than I would have any other investment in the same condition, right? Um, if I'd gotten that little information out of any other C suite, I would have been gone. Um, but I mean, the yields were phenomenal until the options market started to die out, right? Into the latter half of 2023 and into the early part of this year, total delta on the chain just dried up, right? There was no one interested. It was at all time, like lower than it was back in like 2020. Um, and so yeah, that that kind of once the yields went away, I mean, I couldn't make a justifiable argument for keeping the position anymore. Hey man, I had a dream about you last night. We were hanging out at your place and you were coaching me cooking. I thought I did well. I woke up happy. Thanks for the imaginary kudos. You got it, Greg. Just watch your seer next time and you'll be good. Well, I just hate to see him act like a petulant child publicly when people leave the company. Yeah, I thought that was very immature. Um, I don't think Cohen is a good CEO for a publicly traded company. Um, that's just my opinion, but I think yeah, he caters to his investor base, or largely caters to his investor base with his memes and antics and stuff. But a lot of that kind of shit, like saying, not for long after he fires for long, like that's the kind of stuff that drives away more serious investors, right? A lot of them are gonna look at that as being extraordinarily unprofessional. And it reflects badly on the company that we all, yeah, well, you guys maybe own. I don't anymore. um a true meme company. Yeah. Were there any updates regarding the Gamma Max for GME after Friday close? I could tell you what it went to. So that one's not really changing. Ooh. See, here's the weird thing. Someone sold a shitload of puts again on Friday. Sold puts now near their all-time high, which is still very, very interesting. Hmm. Hold on. Let me look at something else here. Bitch. Oh, there we go. So Gamma Max pushed down on Friday, dropped by like 31.33%. Oh crap. You have to give me a minute. I gotta see if this is gonna load. Nope. Fucking bugs. All right. I would say Gamma Max is probably still around like 23 to $25. What's the reason Gamma Max has been unreliable is that there are technically more than one of them. Because of the way that positioning is broken up on the chain. It's very weird, right? Like, but we have tons of positioning concentrated around like the $20 to $25 range, right? Which is, skews things pretty heavily. But then we also have like a ton of positioning like 30 to 40, 50, right? Um, and when IV increases, you kind of end up getting more than one gamma max point. Can you stop edging us with GME defer packs details? We can't last much longer. Well, I'm trying to load this chart, and it's being a little bitch. Because I want to see where positioning fell on Friday. I don't think it's gonna work. All right, I'll just do it here. I got one other source. Give me a second. All right. Hmm. All right, I kind of just use this, I guess. All right. So, you can see we kind of fell between the two major strikes at 25 and 30 and to close on Friday, right? But if you look at the way Gamma's concentrated, it's all at major strikes, and they're like those concentrations are kind of far away from each other, right? So we have like multiple points that could be considered gamma max. But obviously, the one near $20 is the largest one. But then there's a pretty good argument that there's one somewhere between like 40 and 55 as well up here in this like top range. I don't know if I can draw on that. Maybe I can. It's the wrong color. No, I can't. Son of a bitch. Anyway, yeah, between 40 and 50, kind of where you see that one sigma little line right up there. There's like like another probable gamma max. The increase in sold puts is pretty interesting. Although we did dump a ton of delta. We went from 0.35 or 3.52 billion delta on the chain down to 1.54 billion delta on the chain. Or well, delta exposure. Which is a pretty significant drop. And gamma fell from 13 billion to 5 billion. So both of those are not necessarily ideal. I will say something interesting about the expiration is a bunch of charm fell off. So I think a lot of the short calls and the long calls that were out of the money on weeklies expired. And I mentioned this last week. When those fall off, they'll stop putting downward pressure on the price, right? Because what happens in a lot of these runs, and this has gone on for some time, and I think I think we've more than covered it in the past, but is retail likes to go out and buy shitloads of out of the money calls. Now, if those out of the money calls go in the money, they're awesome, right? You get that big ramp up in gamma, and boom, and the price just keeps rocketing. But if they don't go in the money, if they stay out of the money, they start to decay, right? Which means that all of the delta that retail has bought is going to go to zero by the end of day Friday. And this is bad. This is why, DFE's position is so perfect, because it's in the money, right? His none of the delta on his position is decaying away. It is a little, but not very much, right? It's almost non-existent decay. Um, the same is true for leaps and longer dated calls. Longer dated being 30 plus DTE. And this is something I touched on a really long time ago in regards to GME. It is far better for retail to buy theta or buy in the money than it is for them to buy short dated out of the money options. And it's not just because the percentage chance of them being profitable is so much lower, but it's because at the end of the week, retail's actually working against positive price improvement by holding those calls into expiry. Does that make sense? Anyway, with that covered, yeah, let's take a look at the extension schedule for GM, well, for FINRA for this year, and it has changed. So we're gonna go here and we're gonna look at the 5201 F6. Nope, hold on. I gotta. You know what? Maybe I can just make this full screen, and then I don't have to fuck with it. No. All right, let me see if that works. So I want to look at that. 5201 F6, which is date margin or mark to market deficiency plus 15 business days. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are well aware that, the lag between the end of the Jan 21 run and Feb was 15 business days. The lag between the May run and this run was 15 business days. So there's a reason for this, right? If we look here at the trade date, right over here, and then we look at the F16 date over here. I could probably make that better. You'll see that like 513 and 514 and 515, those are settling out on 6-4, 6-6, 6-7, right? And these are the dates of our run. So if we look at our run and we look at the prior run, this is where the settlement for that prior run is falling, right? Which means that the next settlement from the current run should fall right around 618. So see, T+1 starts, and this is where it gets tricky, because the prior run settlement is still on T+2, but then we switch over to T+1, right? And then that's where we should get the last phase of the settlement from um May, like the May OPEX period, and May end of month, right? And so we're looking here like 618, 620, 621, right? for those to settle out again, because we shift from T1 to T2 settlement. Um, the other possibility, and this is because of the new margin threshold limits for T4. So that would have been, the old one that we tracked, right? The other window that we're looking at, and this is because we don't know what Rex codes are used, right? We don't know which one, and they each have different settlement period. It's going to always be a mystery unless we could find the exact accounts within FINRA and locate the actual Rex codes. Which, I mean, you'd have to be a FINRA member, and you'd also have to know which accounts to look at, right? But we'd go over here to this column, and we would look at 6-3 settles on 6-7, 6-4 settles on 6-10, 6-5 settles on 6-11, 6-6 settles on 6-12, 6-7 settles on 6-13. So basically, we'd be looking at the 10th through 13th and the 18th through 25th as the two possible settlement windows, and that really depends on which side of the obligations are stacked for the cash settlement of the ETF ownings, like the ownership in the ETFs, right? There is also a third one that would be mostly just the market maker, right? And that would be here under 15C3M. And this would be a different bag of settlements, probably not as large as the one we care about, but they could overlap with the other settlement, right? Which would then drive even more price improvement. And this would be, we'd be looking between 617 and 625 are when those will come in. So those are going to be there no matter what. That's definitely a settlement process that needs to occur. It's the other two that are more questionable on which window they're going to fall in, because we don't know what Rex codes are being followed or filed. So anyway, yeah, that's that. Charm is nosediving once again on GME, which was quite bullish for it last time when Charm almost fell back below spot. We're not getting a significant amount of shorting, but we did get a large decline in price. That's generally indicative of selling, right? When liquidity expands and price falls, you have sellers, and that indicates that the share offering is being pushed through, which should be expected. When that is complete, however, though, we should be running into the period where those MMs and those ETFs are going to look to settle out. They're going to have all that inventory from the offering, and they're going to want to buy it all up, right? And that's why the completion of the last share offering was so insanely bullish, right? Which we had mentioned before. It's quite bullish when the share offering completes, because yeah, then everyone wants to get their grubby little hands on those extra filthy shares. Anyway, that's about it for GME. I mean, I guess we would be looking for realized volatility to start expanding. I will say that arbitrage remains largely unresolved, and this is kind of how you know that they're not. This is another way of telling that they're not really using that excess liquidity yet, right? Because if they were actively using the share offering for settlement, we would expect arbitrage to mean revert, right? They would attack the arbitrage and profit from it, and so far nobody has. We may see this happen in the overnight session on GSC2 tonight in the German markets, London markets, and then finalizing as it hits the U.S. markets, and that could give us a few days of kind of sideways to slightly down as they turn over all that settlement through CNS. But when it's complete, that could then drive another leg of a run as well mechanically. Liquidity loosened up a little bit, but not too much. If we got to the daily, liquidity's still pretty tight. There's still a lot of demand in the options chain for shares. Yeah, I would say that this definitely has at least one more leg up in it. I don't know how high that's gonna go. I don't know if it'd be a new high. But if you break down the way the ETF trades settle, the final settlement should be the largest pile of settled shares, right? And that's what we see in 2021 if we go back here. Right? So the deferred settlement broke out to the 15th and it broke out to the 21st, which I believe is right here. Or I'm sorry, the 13th. It was the 13th and the 22nd. My mistake. I have the old stuff over here in Discord. So it's the 13th and the 22nd. You see the volume on those 2 days, right? Like this was the largest. The 22nd was the largest volume day in that cycle, right? And so if we look at this now, right, the same settlement cycle, right, assuming that that's what's going on, this would have been the May run. This would have been the most recent run. 6-4 run. And then this would be the next one. I mean, so far there's no indication that GME has been added to the R2K, although they haven't published all the reports yet. And what really got me excited about this theory way back when, like back when we were working our way through defer pecs at the end of 2022 into 2023, was that these settlements all fell on exactly the dates where we had the largest amount of volume, and they were all deferred out from December 22nd, right? So it was this initial settlement. Well, actually, it was like November. I think it was November 12th. Hold on, I have to go. I have to switch back to the. I forget which is the day that started it. So it was December 21 to Jan 13. It was November 18th to the 12th. Yeah, so this all started back here on November 18th, which was then deferred to December 12th. Which would have been like right here. Then deferred to the 22nd, the 13th, and the 22nd. And what was interesting about this period is that DFV was still now he'd rolled out other calls in the past, but he had Jan 15 2021 calls on the day before yeah, we ran on the 13th, right? And it was his only short dated call position on GME. And they were very specifically for that Jan 13th run, right? Because they expired 2 days later. And the coolest thing I thought about that was on Jan 13th, he retweeted his tweet from December 22nd, right? And December 22nd was the original settlement day for the Jan 13th settlement. Which was this. Hold on. See? December 22nd, Jan 13. It's pretty juicy. I mean, if I'm going to come up with conspiracy theories, I'm going to do it the right way. How will the 619 and 74 holidays play into this? 619 should only have an effect on current settlement as 74 as well, right? So it shouldn't delay prior settlements, it should only delay current ones, but it will have an effect. So you follow the 619 settlement out from OPEX, right? I mean, theoretically, at this point, there should be no avoiding the covering, right? If we break down the trade that I've described for 3 years into, the well, the AP gets shares, shorts, right? And then they return cash to an intermediary. Then the ETF gets the cash and settles. Nothing should be able to stop that. There's no reason for the ETF not to go buy the shares that they need, right? They've got the money now, so they should go buy them. And we went through a similar process in January of 2023, and I don't know if it wasn't as big. I don't know if you guys remember defer packs, but it was back here, right? And we got that 3-stage settlement cycle again, right? And this is when we came up with the idea of like defer packs back here, um because we were going through OPEXs with no settlement, and we were just running into holiday, 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 holiday. DFE's brother was posting during defer packs. Yeah, he was. I remember that. But that was, I mean, it seemed insignificant at the time, but from our low, GME ran during that period like 62, then 76, and then like 80% from its like December low. What was more interesting is that it held a lot of that price improvement for a good chunk of that time, like all the way out until August. So R2K would create far more liquidity, but it would also create far more demand for shares. Anyway, you guys can check out those videos and my prior posts on the Discord for more information on all of that. If you just scroll from like December through like Feb, there's a quite a bit of information that I posted about the deferrals and the deferral process. And I think there was another video called like Mega Packs or something like that, that might have also kind of dove into all of this stuff. Although I haven't watched it yet, so I'm not sure. No, GME is never a pickles pick. It's always that would put GME plays behind a paywall. I don't do that. Which channel are the videos? In the Discord and the announcements channel. I posted one of the videos over on the subreddit. But there's like some stuff, like there's some posts around like 126. Gotta go all the way out through Feb. Anyway, do you plan on playing GME, if at all? Maybe. I might. We'll see. I still want that last. I kind of want that last volume spike. So yeah, I might. We'll see what it falls to. If it stabilizes around here, yeah, I can see myself getting back into it. Does DFE know something everyone else doesn't? I think. Well, I personally think he knows what I just described. Anyway, on to the rest of the weekend stream now. We can finish up with GME. I think that's more than enough information. All right. So Upstart's been getting a little bit of covering, but kind of fell off on Friday and lost the $25 level. I would say that the ETF FTD period on this is probably over and done with, and we should start to see uh, prices decline. It's more than sufficiently liquid. There's plenty of liquidity in both ETFs. Go to the mall is number one fan. I see. Do it again, and no more filth base for you. I'm going to the mall is something I don't do with everyone. Next time you want to swab my poop deck, oh shit, I missed your other one. You're gonna have to rub my feet. Bonjour, Pepino. I want to come clean. I'm obsessed with women's booby buttons. They're so calming. When a frost detector pops out by accident, it's like Christmas in China. Raisin smuggling should be illegal and free to all. Bologna or Harry Sand Dollar dinner plates make me happy. Kendra. Can you tell Kendra to knock it off? Um, I've tried. It hasn't worked for the last 3 years. Is DFV also a centaur? No comment. But I will say that everyone is half centaur. If Upstart holds the 23, 50, 24 level, would that be bullish? I don't think it will. I think probably back to 20. That could depend on financial conditions a little bit. But yeah, I'm not I'm not I'm not crazy bullish on Upstart right now. I would want it to fall much lower before getting leaps. Question mark. I hope Upstart's at 20 and then sell CSP. Yeah, that'd be a range that I'd be more willing to explore an entry, like 20 to 18, around there. Um, Lower if possible, but Fubo's liquidity is finally getting a bit tight after trading for the better part of a month and a half at $1.20. We are finally starting to get enough sold puts that the hedge is starting to skew a little bit. Um, that could be favorable for Fubo either into this week or maybe possibly into OPEX. So I'll be keeping an eye on that. I just have synthetic longs, nothing special. Like dollar 50, and then $1.50, $2 synth longs. Aditya Wagahe, welcome to Dillionaire. Thank you so much. I probably mispronounced that, but I appreciate it. And hit me up on the Discord. I'll get you out of the country club after the stream. Would you enter the full amount of shares you had before? I would, again, never buy shares of GME again. I'd buy some options. I don't know why I'd buy 0.4 Delta. I feel like I would just buy a large number of out of the money options, and if they print, they print. How much is the FSLR end phase dependent on data coming from the FOMC next week? I bet. I mean, they're both heavily affected by borrowing rates, right? People have to get loans to slap solar on their homes, and so financial conditions have a pretty marked effect on both companies. In periods of tightening financial conditions, it's obviously where some FSLR has a little bit more exposure to the industrial side and like the utility side of energy than Enphase, and so they're a little less affected by tightening financial conditions, but still affected by them, right? Plans to play Nvidia split. Thought ups or downs. I don't think that the split immediately is going to have an effect, but I think probably if you look historically, there'll be a period where the exercising of in the money calls on the current chain drives some positive price action after the split, and then I think when that dies off, that's when you're going to see the big liquidity drain from the options chain on the new chain as all of that delta falls off. So I would say a little bit after the split, but I'm generally bearish on splits like that. because the options chain drops so much delta that's no longer going to be hedged. It eases up active fund pressure from liquidity from ETFs substantially, which means they're not tying up that liquidity anymore. And then but yeah, I would say after the split, a little bit after the split, it'll probably, unless the market crashes or something, it'll probably get another run as everyone exercises off all of their leaps, right? So like everyone's sitting on like 20-25 leaps between, 150 and $1,000. They're gonna want to get their shares, right? And then they might start selling their shares, but first they're gonna get them. Can you talk a little on metals? I feel like the sell off is a little much. I think volatility is just picking up a lot on, COMEX generally. Oil volatility is picking up. Um, I don't think that the sell offs are excessive. I mean, I think silver is up way too much anyway. But I think we're going to continue to see a lot of uncertainty there, especially with gold, gold, copper, silver, right? Because there's still a lot of uncertainty surrounding the Chinese economic recovery, right? And then there's also, some pretty significant currency fears, right? We don't know, until after this week, really, and maybe even after the BOJ decision, where the dollar's gonna fall, right? And so I think we're seeing just a lot of like very, very panicky behavior in the metals markets. So I would expect this to continue. I mean, how many like 3 and 4% drops has gold had now over the last couple of months, right? It's becoming pretty commonplace, and then it finds its footing again and shoots back up. Well, let me cover top looks like it might be starting to do a little something there. Liquidity starting to tighten up again a bit. And we're seeing a tiny bit of covering. Remember, this could just be ETF FTDs, but Top only has exposure to like 2 ETFs, so it's not. I don't think that period will be very significant. But we might get a bounce here as we go into as we like move closer to OPEX and liquidity gets tighter. Um, I don't know if it'd be a big one, but it might be like another test at like 2 or something like that. Might not be worth playing unless the $1.50 call goes out of the money again. This is actually starting to turn around, and we're getting a little bit of covering over the last few days. I think largely just pressured by some of the meme stocks running in R2K. It's still off reg show, so as far as I'm concerned, it can easily drop back to, like the yeah now like the $4 level, almost back to $4. And there's very little delta on the chain. Um, Short puts have been picking up a bit, which could be somewhat bullish, but they're not very high. There's just a little bit of them. So I would say that this is probably still going to experience more downside and need to get back on reg show before we see any significant runs. Nothing's really happened with GoEV. It's still being shorted. It's at $2. There's support there from short puts. Boring. BNED offering a ton of shares. No one cares about that. BTU, someone asked about. I think BTU will probably find some support at 2350 again. It usually does, right? 2350 has been an awesome level for the last like year and a half. So I would say yeah, 2350 is pretty important. If it falls below that, I would start looking at CSPs again. I'm not bearish on Halliburton. I'm long Hal. What is this synthetic long? You sell a put, buy a call. You get a ton of leverage for very little credit. Or for very little margin expense, right? So I can get like I can sell the. Let me show you guys here. You can just go to like Fubo, or actually, you know what? Maybe it's better to do it over here because it'll be better, easier to see. So you could go you can do like the Jan 25, and you can sell the dollar put and buy the $2 call. That, or you can sell the 50-cent put or the $1.50. Right, you can get 2-to-1 leverage. Might even be able to get close to 3-to-1 leverage, kind of close. Which makes you, or you can do this. Oop, shit. Right. Which makes you very profitable on any upside move. Like if Fubo were to break out to, like, say, back to $3, you know, you're making about 250%. And your net debit is $3. So for $3, you can get, you know, 3 calls worth of exposure. They also don't decay very rapidly with the passage of time. Right, so you know, initially their profit kind of looks like that, and then over time the break even doesn't move very much, right? Most of the move in the break even is right there in the last few days to expiration. What's the downside risk to a move like that? You buy 100 shares of Fubo at $1.50, or you lose $153. Say max loss $153. But yeah, say Fubo hit $5 in the next year, I would make, you know, per $3 position, you make $5. Mm, it's like 300%. You make, well, yeah, 29,000% on your initial investment, which would be like $800 profit, $900 profit on a $3 debit. And so you can get a ton of leverage this way, right? Like, you know, do not do this, but you could do this on like GME, right? This is where I largely first started using these positions a lot. But you know, you could sell like the 25. So sell the 28 by the 28, right? So you know you're taking on $3,000 of the risk. Like I'll buy 100 shares of GME at $28 if this dumps. Plus there's a little bit of that going on. But if the price goes up, right? Let's say we hit 80, you know, you make $5,000 on $100 debit. So they have an advantage in that you get to sell the theta and you get to sell the implied volatility, and you get more like pure exposure to the underlying, right? Like the only thing that really changes with increases in volatility is your chance of profit. And barely, right? Like only a few percentage points. No, definitely not a sure thing. I mean, you'd have to be willing to risk buying 100 shares at $28. But you could do greedier shit, right? Like, you can do like this, right? You could buy like sell the 35 or sell the 30, buy the 40, or sell the 35, buy the 40, right? And then you're doubling your leverage to the upside. Right, then on like an $80 test, you're making $7,700, or sell the 40 by the 80, right? And then you can get even more leverage. Uh, like add a net credit, you can get 3-to-1 leverage. And then, on an early test of 80, you're making like $10,000 on a $200 credit and $4,000 of risk. Yeah, with portfolio margin, you can skip the cash secured portion of the sold put leg. But you're exposed to overnight loss on the naked put, right? So if GME, closes the day at 25, you have to have enough margin to cover, the 25 to 40 spread. I mean, honestly, the better way of getting exposure to something like GME would be like something like this, right? Where you like buy the 30, sell the 40. Um and say you did it for like the same date as DFE, right? And this allows you to sell the vol, right, while also going long, right? You're long the 30, and then it caps your profit, but your cost of entry is really low. So your total risk is only that initial $135 you spend. Oh wait, that's sorry, I gotta move that up. And this allows you to get long exposure without paying out the ass for volatility. Because if you don't sell this, right, your $600 debit, you're taking $600 of risk for roughly the same performance, right? You could do 40/60. I mean, that's your break even's at 41, but it's not, right? Initially your break even's like here, right? And then it moves up with the passage of time. The biggest problem with these, right, is that especially on GME, is that the price has to stay there, right? Like the price has to stay between 40 and 60 into expiry for you to maximize your profits, right? Because if it hits 60 tomorrow, you'd only make $700, right? Or well, no, that's still too low. But if it did that, by expiry, you'd make $1,800. They're just hard to get rid of, honestly. This makes so much sense in retrospect. I should definitely utilize things like this more instead of betting on up or down. Yeah, yeah, they're pretty awesome. You could also do stuff like this where you take like these are one of my favorite positions, but like you can do like that, right? Your max loss is 155. You're established at a net credit, right? And then you're profitable at any price over 30 into expiration. So you end up with like something like this. And if you hit the nail on the head, right, and it like closes at 30, you make, like 250%. And you can even do these, you can do them so they're more bullish, right? You can have them like out here, and you make 900% on a net credit of, but look at the max loss, right? So like if GME dumps, right, and fucking nothing happens, everything goes to shit. You lose 87. You lose $87. But if it rockets, right, and hits $40 before your expiry, you can make like 250%. If it closes at 40 on your expiry, you make like almost 1,000% on risk. So yeah, I mean, read options as a strategic investment. Understand this stuff because it's an important part of options trading. Think of it like chess, right? Or like a card game, right? And you're understanding your strategy, and implementing the correct strategy for the underlying is how you make consistent returns. Yeah, well, debit spreads are good for noobs, that are trying to explore long side positioning. I still strongly recommend that if you are new to options trading, you stick with sell side. The reason being is that sell side offers higher you're statistically more probable to profit on your positions. In theory, when a run is expected, can they push it further? Yeah, it could still push. There's still a lot of Vega risk on the GME chain. Um, wow, I've just been running my fucking mouth, and Dork and JFresh have been here sticking shit in their butt without me. What's up,
So,
guys?
sorry, sorry for the interruption, Jay Fresh. So, anyways, I took it back out of the butt. It was causing a lot of problems, but I put it in sideways, and then there weren't any problems anymore. So, yeah, that was the solution, was to just
I
put it
like
in
how
sideways.
I like how every time you're talking about putting things in your butt, it's always about trying to solve some problem. So, what is the problem you're trying to solve? And question two, why is
What
putting
problem isn't it
in
trying
your
to
butt?
solve?
Okay, now I'll turn your guys' mics up.
Damn it!
Get wrecked.
How you doing, Kirk?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm sorry I was so late. I was fucking wrapped up in option strat. You know what happens.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
Yeah.
I was just
Just got
noodling
back.
on data. Yeah, it's not like I'm sitting here waiting,
I,
doing
pro-
nothing.
I once again proposed my super awesome defer pex theory.
I did.
There you
I
go.
I popped in. I did see some of that.
Yeah, which is I still think accurate and also makes sense.
Unfortunately, unfortunately for everybody uh, that's listening, I'm kind of bullish on GME, so it means it's going to go down. So
You bitch.
make your plans. But
Did
I
you see that
see.
fucking move in Charm on Friday?
No,
Not
I
gonna lie, I'm a little
would
bullish
surprise me.
too. I wonder if I could
Well,
just
I
take
think
everything I made off GME, right? Like the full kit and caboodle. It was like I think well, if I sell the treasuries, so just like 3 mil synth long, just the
Good
pro,
lord.
just the profits, right? Like just the money I made in excess of my negative cost basis. So everything over
eh,
zero.
we'll see. I mean, here's the thing. Like, this is definitely a different game than was being played long, long ago. I mean, the shorts are out. Like, there's always gonna be shorts on it. But like the idea of this, massive unmet short position that somehow they didn't squirrel out of in 4 years, which is so much time to bleed a position or nothing, is absurd. Um, so you're dealing with a different monster here. This is a pump and dump, and I think that should be very clear. Um, and so you don't want to be the last one out on a pump and dump. But the other issue is that Keith Gill kind of holds all the cards right now because his position on the options chain is so massive that it's kind of, in a way, it's kind of putting the MM in a little bit. And I could talk a little bit about that because I've been looking at the position. But basically, I mean, his position's so massive that it swamps everything else. But that means that the MM is short all those calls at 20. And so um, the MM does not want this to run. And if it does run, they have to buy and just buy, 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 buy.
Mm-hmm.
And the point at which they have to start buy is right around $30 right now. That's probably going to change throughout this week, but $30, buy. Under 20, then they start getting the advantage. That's where they really want it because then Mr. Gill, people told me I'm not allowed to talk about him on a first name basis. So Mr. Gill, his position will start decaying to nothing because it expires in 2 weeks, which, anyway. So if it's under 20, very bearish. If it's over 30, very bullish. Or even close to 30, very bullish. And if it's in between, so somewhere between like 23 to $28, that's where, if it can stabilize in that area, slowly Mr. Gill's position will start gaining delta, which will push it upwards. And so if it pushes it up to 30, then the MM just has to start buying. So that kind of lays the landscape for me. If it stays, I think you mentioned something about this earlier. If it kind of stabilizes in this range, that's pretty bullish. And then if it gets close to 30, that can potentially be very bullish.
Yeah.
But if it goes under 20, it's going to be a rough ride. And so that's kind of the lay of the land as I see it right now. But it also completely depends on Keith's ability to hold and to close. Is he gonna diamond hand or is he gonna bleed those calls? You kind of don't know, but it's really all on him, which maybe is exactly where he wants to be. I don't know. He seemed yeah. It's hard to interpret anything on his stream just because he can't. Obviously, he's very constrained in what he can and can't say, and it's frankly, it's hard to tell how much he's playing dumb and how much he's actually dumb. And maybe that's by design. I don't know. But yeah, super risky. It's just a pump and dump. There's no magical shorts. You're not going to $200, but it could run. So be smart if you're going to play it.
Yep.
This sounds like shill talk.
What?
Everything you're saying.
But yeah, I mean, the other thing is that so here's the thing. I think there is some amount of. I think I was responsible for at least one of the runs. When I wrote Super Stunk, we have a problem. They all got so angry that they all just started hate buying to prove me wrong, and then it ran.
Yeah.
So I do think there's something too. Now that I'm kind of bullish, I think that's going to deflate it. So there's a chance that this is actually all about me, like it is in my mind, and
So
I've ruined it
here's
for
something I
everyone.
want to show everybody since we're on the topic. This is a really like rough estimate of how market maker positioning looks on GME right now. I guess I could inverse it. Well, this is how just positioning is, right? They're short like the 30, 40, 60. Keith is long as fuck on the 20, right? And so what you've got here, and this is one of the reasons we've held so strongly at 25 to 30, is you've got Keith's big pile of fucking gamma that's just chilling here, right? And that's protecting our downside. And as that moves towards expiration, it's gonna grow, right? However, the outer range of it is going to start to contract. But for now, his delta decay is positive, right? So
Yeah,
as his position decays, more and more delta at the money is going to be picked up to hedge, right? And above 30 right now, if we look at the current position, right? Above 30, the delta on his position starts to rise pretty decently all the way out to about $50, which is roughly where our runs stopped last time, right? Or at least during market hours. And if you look at Vega, because of their sold positions, Vega at 30 ramps up massively. So, this Vega exposure on the really starts to pick up all the way into like $60, where the hedge begins to fall off a little bit, or at least stabilize. So, every time we move up above 30, all of this Vega is going to start being bought as delta, right? I mean, they're going to buy shares to cover their Vega risk. But they have to just like you just said, just buy, 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 buy. As soon as we hit those levels, not only do they have to buy the delta for DFE's position, but they need to pick up all the Vega for all of that short vol that's been sold to the upside. And
I'm really enjoying that we're
as
doing
as implied
completely
volatility,
independent.
yeah, as
I
implied
was gonna say,
volatility increases, right? That risk becomes even more insane.
I'm really enjoying us doing these independent checks on things and coming so close with our targets and stuff. I mean, it's kind of scary that we're like exactly in sync, but we did these two analyses with completely different data sets and completely independent of each other and are now discussing it. This was not choreographed, but yeah, that's kind of exactly what I see too.
Yep, that's awesome. That means that the data you're making will save me a lot of time one day.
We'll see.
Also, you're getting better.
Yeah, I am getting a little better. I lead others to a treasure I cannot
Does
myself
the sold
possess.
put pile from last week add more fuel to the fire? It adds more protection to the downside. So that those sold puts that came in on Friday, those are gonna put another wall of they're gonna push that wall of gamma that's supporting price into a higher range. So they're selling puts at 23, 25, right? That wall of gamma from Keith's position, that's gonna push higher, right? And if that wall of gamma crosses that wall of Vega and they intertwine like tips or something, then the gamma is going to push into the Vega hedge, which is going to force another Vega squeeze, like what, the third one now. Let's see if Ryan Cohen sells more shares.
He should. I mean, if he could squeeze like 10, $15 billion out of this, that
I
would be
wish he'd just
nuts.
sell them at fucking $80 and not like 20.
He's just
I
selling
mean,
them at giant.
is GME basically just a holding company now?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just hold their shareholders' money that they've taken.
Yeah,
They don't have
like
any investments besides short-dated treasuries.
yeah, it's crazy. They should just get rid of all the stores and just hold cash.
I think that's the plan.
They're gonna have to rename. At some point, GameStop's gonna sound weird.
It's GameStop Hathaway.
I mean, the legacy business for Berkshire was at least kept up and running for like 20 years before Warren Buffett had to get rid of it.
Listen, Mr. Poopy Pants, TLT is never going to 95. Stop trying to make TLT happen.
You don't
He
think TLT's going to 95?
he keeps
No.
getting so close.
I don't know if it's getting to 95 either, Jay Fresh, not going to lie, but I see a world where it happens.
I mean,
If we get
I guess
more
eventually,
soft
there's
print.
eventually it will, just not anytime soon.
If we get some really soft prints, it'll definitely go to 95.
well, yeah, it might go to 95 very briefly, but it'll go right back down when it's crushed by all this debt we're issuing.
Yeah. Just like GME.
It's never going to
Yeah,
85. Why? Moody's is
I mean,
already
it's just
warning the banks.
It was just at 85 like 4 months ago, 5 months ago.
You know what I want? I want the U.S. debt to get downgraded and then TLT to 50.
Yeah,
I might buy some at 50.
I'm gonna buy
I
so
might
much
buy
of the
some as
30
well.
year when it's 20%.
Well, the problem is if you're buying the 30-year at 20% yield, you know that means that inflation's at like fucking 22%.
Inflation will fall sometime.
In,
What's
in
wrong
that
with you
scenario,
people?
it'll fall once the riots of the breadlines get deadly.
No, we'll
Yeah,
start a war.
my target is about 6 or 7% long term because
You
that's
know
what our
what's
deficits
you
are
know what's
growing
looking
at.
ripe for a war? Venezuela.
They need
Venezuela
some
just
freedom.
lost an internal war.
Do they need freedom?
They might need some
We've got
freedom.
freedom. We've got freedom.
I think northern central South America is just ripe for freedom.
We've got that. We've got a lot of that.
We doing another war on drugs where we're gonna like ship them miniguns and then go
No,
and
no, no,
invade
no,
them?
no, 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 no. Like full scale war. Get the whole logistics train up and running.
Not it's not war. We're exporting freedom.
Fine.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
We just need
It's
like a
plausible.
false. We just need like a false flag. We need to send in some Navy SEALs to Guyana, and all of a sudden a bunch of oil derricks blow up. Boom, hotbed.
Navy SEALs, why wouldn't we do it with the CIA like we normally do?
Well, the CIA just has the Navy SEALs do it.
Or the Navy SEALs blow up the oil derrick and then the CIA is the one who instigates a coup.
Didn't that already
You know,
happen? And didn't they get caught? It's okay. We can do it again. You
Yeah, we
just
can do
need to
yeah,
that.
not
really,
get caught once.
just get AI to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could figure it out. Cuba? No, Cuba's worthless.
Hey, if you guys want to do something fun, ask Copilot who won the 2020 U.S. election.
Does it know?
It won't answer. It's too controversial.
That's so hilarious.
It's not controversial at all.
I don't know what because it's a known thing. It hasn't caught on for some reason. Only Google screwing up AI gets viral, and all of like the Copilot and OpenAI screw ups don't go viral. I don't know what it is about dunking on Google, but people love it.
It sounds like Microsoft has a way better PR department.
Maybe.
Yeah. Google's never been great at defending themselves publicly or turning any of their ideas into actual products.
Yeah.
They just
Microsoft's
have
not super great about that either, though.
no, they're not.
They've got a pretty good graveyard of products too. A lot of which they said were going to be transformative. They had bets in the metaverse and other things that just went nowhere.
Microsoft has always been dunked on. Have you heard of the Zune or Bing?
Hey, listen, Bing is gaining market share.
Is it?
I think so, a little bit. I mean, it's very slow. But Google sucks.
They do.
Google search is becoming un. Has anybody else felt that way?
What?
That Google search is becoming unusable. It's like I feel like I'm hostage trying to like negotiate to get the information
You just
instead of
start your
just
search on page 2.
yeah.
You scroll through all
Yes.
the ads and then the suggested searches, and that would lead to more ads. And then like somewhere on like page 2 or 3 will be an answer.
Yeah, I just typed in for considering getting a car for my wife. I typed in what's the Kia Telluride. I typed in Kia Telluride Google, and I expected to get like a Kia ad and then the Kia website, and then maybe since it knows my location, like the closest Kia dealership. That would be great, right?
Yeah.
With like showing the cars that they have available. That would be awesome. What a great tool that would be. But instead, I got like a Dodge ad, a Subaru ad, and like all these ads for the competitors. And then I had to scroll half a page, and one of the ads was a Kia ad that didn't have the Kia dealership closest to me. It had one in like, I don't know where it was. It was just a mess. It was an absolute mess. Not a fan. Anyway, all right, back to war.
You
What
should
were
get
we
the
talking about?
Sorrento hybrid.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
better.
don't know. She doesn't want to get a new car. She just had me fix the
It's
problem.
roughly the same size, but it's way better on gas and more reliable. Like the Kia hybrids are better than
Wait,
their standard
why do you think
powertrain.
I'm on drugs?
Who's on drugs? J Fresh?
Me?
He needs them,
Juice
but he's
dude,
not on
is
them.
Jay Fresh on drugs?
Why did he spell your name that way? Is he on drugs?
I don't know. Oh, I should have typed in Kia Telluride in my area. There are Tellurides and they're in your area. Why do they think we're high?
Oh, I haven't seen the EV9. That's new, huh? There you go. You could get her the all electric one, and then you don't spend any money on gas.
I don't care about spending
Also
money on
when she's
gas.
out with the kids, 20 extra minutes of free time while she's charging it. Think about what you could do with that over a year. You could solve options.
Hmm.
The rear seats are recliners. Like they're actual like recliners with like little footrests.
That sounds cute.
Yeah. It's got a good look. Doesn't look bad. Doesn't look as ugly as the fucking Cybertruck.
It sounds great. I just need it in gas.
Ah. Well, that doesn't come in
Because
gas.
I'm not gonna here, I'll make a deal with the world. I'll go electric when all the rich assholes telling us to save the world go electric.
Hmm. I think we should just make cars powered by fusion.
But yeah, sure, but we don't have that.
Well,
We need AI to give it to us, but we need fusion to make AI. We need AI to make fusion. Where do we
it's a
go?
big circle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you this. I'm gonna send you the Sorrento hybrid.
Dude, my wife drives an old ass Toyota Camry and she's fine with it. She doesn't want a car payment. Cars are expensive. What the hell is going on with cars?
Yeah, they're not cheap. They're cheaper than they were, but they're still not cheap.
Okay, everybody's talking about Toyota being the king of hybrids. Yes, Toyota created the hybrid transmission, right? They they're of course going to be the kings of it. They invented it.
The Kia hybrid drivetrain is pretty good. It was, you know, the what was
I'm
it?
sure they're
The
all pretty. I'm pretty sure
yeah.
that they're probably all just buying it from Toyota.
No. Kia has its own. The I think it was like the Nero was their competitor to the Prius, and it was more fuel efficient than the Prius was by like
Oh,
12%.
yeah, cool.
It's pretty impressive. And they got that head designer from Audi, so their cars look better.
Yeah. Yes, $1,000 a month for a car payment is crazy. How are people doing that?
Well, I mean, it's simple, right? You go long GME, like $1,000,
Oh, right.
40x your money, pay cash.
You're right. Or you just sell puts for 1.5% every week year in the cash.
Yeah, that too.
The risk free rate is 70%. Changed my mind.
I don't get why Americans are leasing cars they can't afford because you can write it off. You start an LLC, that, and you're the CEO, so you clearly need to lease a Lamborghini, right? I mean, you need to look like the CEO when you go to meetings or events. It's important. Speaking of which, I need to lease a Lamborghini.
Let's do it.
All right.
Can I come sit in it while you drive it?
I can't fit in one. You're gonna have to drive it.
Where are you just gonna be on the back?
Yeah, just zip tie me to the hood.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Wait, can I get
That'd
zip
be
tied to
fun.
the hood too? That sounds kind of fun.
They're so
I'll
fucking tiny.
zip tie you front to front. It sounds like I can't fit in it. Dork's gonna be driving it.
Yeah, the only supercars I can sit in comfortably are like Porsches. Those aren't too bad. The rest of them are just way too fucking small. Toyota has a new Miata competitor coming out soon. Ooh, interesting. Regards Kiki was looking for a new drop top convertible so she could be fun in the sun. We'll have to let her know about that.
Did we talk about the market?
Well, I guess we
I think
could.
we are talking
We
about
are,
the
right?
market.
We're discussing car prices, which is directly attributable to inflation.
Very true.
Yeah.
Used
So
cars seem to be going down, and it looks like new cars kind of flattened out, which is good.
yeah, well, that's because no one's buying them.
Yeah, because no one can afford them.
Yeah, everyone's currently defaulting on their 15% car loans that they got in 2022, and they are not buying new cars as they default on their prior ones.
Yeah, that's the thing that really killed me. It's like, hey, why am I paying so much for a car and paying, and I have to pay it's like 6% for a car loan now. It's like, fuck that. Sorry. F that.
You could say fuck. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fuck, fuck, fuck.
Yeah, this
Boom, like
this
a
this
kid.
stream is shadow banned and demonetized anyway.
What did you do to get it demonetized?
I said that I was a cunt earlier. I mean, that's
Is
yeah.
that all it takes?
Well, I don't know. They use AI now
Ooh.
to determine like the ad suitability of the videos instead of like a human reviewer. And so it's actually far less accurate. And I've been getting a lot of like ads from like baby products and like children's toys, which obviously doesn't fit with my
Because,
content. But AI is doing
well,
it.
it's probably because all the people in the chat are so dumb that it thinks they're babies.
Maybe it's probably just because they're searching for like children's stuff for their children. Starliner after actions reports for the trip to the ISS. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Wind short Boeing. Thanks, Pifu. Well, you could have shorted Boeing when it was at like $400 a share. Now
Yeah,
it's,
seriously,
yeah. Now's
rip
not
Boeing.
such a great idea. But maybe I did. Maybe you didn't. But who knows? You think we can afford children with these GME YOLOs? Nah, dog.
How are people not making money on GME? It keeps going up.
I don't know. Well, they sell. Like, it goes down. They're like, ah. And then
Right,
they
but
and then they
you can
sell, and then
still.
it turns around $5 on one candle, and they can't afford the call anymore.
But if you buy at like 25 and it goes to 60, even if it drops to 40, you should still be able to sell for money.
They don't. They just hold diamond hands.
I'm so confused.
You forgot about diamond hands?
I guess
You
it's just
remember
like
that one guy that called
after all
us?
this time.
Do you remember that one guy that called us options shills because he bought leaps in December of 2020 and then never sold them, and then they closed worthless
I
in
do
June?
remember that guy.
I remember that guy too. Um, like that guy. That guy's the reason.
Oh my gosh, guys. If it goes up, sell.
But what if it would go up higher?
Uh,
The eternal question: is this
see,
MOAS?
I think this is just like, I think this is so emblematic of the issue, the societal issue we have surrounding money. So everyone feels that the American dream is so unattainable now that the only way they can achieve it is ridiculous YOLOs.
Yeah.
So it's literally like doom YOLOing. It's like, well, if I lose this $500, but if it does hit, I can actually like have the dream life I want.
Here's what I can say. Everyone who's ever YOLO'd GME like hard has had extra 100 grand. I think like maybe 2% of them have kept that money. Like everybody in this chat,
Oh, it's
everybody on
depressing.
Superstock, everybody at one point on GME has 40x in options contracts. But the number of them that have kept that money is is very, very low.
Very true.
Uh,
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to me. Like, you know what nobody says through a lifetime of hard work, I will achieve. Nobody says that anymore. It's not really true. So we just have to
I
YOLO.
believe I believe that.
This is the casino.
It's like
Play or
Hunger
lose.
Games,
Yeah,
but for stimmy checks.
yeah,
This is
exactly.
this is where stimmy checks go to die.
very
Well,
true. So when are we getting our next round of stimmies?
Supposedly soon. Have you guys heard about that? There's been a lot of rumors.
what?
Yeah, Biden's gonna do a big stimmy.
For what?
Why
For
not?
votes? Duh.
Yeah, buy
He's
votes.
buying
But
votes.
like, I mean, I remember reading about something like helping down payments for people or some shit like that for first time home buyers. But is he just going to give people money now?
Let's see what stimulus check 2024 leads to on Google.
Yeah, let's get some AI. Well, I'll ask.
Can I get a retroactive discount since I just bought my first house?
No, fuck you.
That's true. Yeah, fuck me. Kind of like I graduated college and then student loans were forgiven, but not me. I didn't have any student loans.
All right, I just asked Copilot. Can you give me details on the proposed stimulus check for 2024? Certainly. Here are the details of the proposed stimulus check for 2024. Direct payments. The stimulus package includes direct payments of up to $600 for eligible adults, plus an additional $600 per child dependent.
It
This
looks
means a
like
family of four.
the rumors are false.
Yeah, it's probably false. It sounds like the existing one.
There is an
Eligibility.
IRS payment for those on Social Security that still has not been paid out yet, but it doesn't look like it's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. Additional support and includes vaccine distribution, other provisions, because that's still definitely a thing in 2020. Yeah, so it just put 2024 on the old like 2021.
Well, it's AI, dude. It's what it did. You assumed the question, so it assumed true in its answer.
I'm putting this on Twitter.
Get grandma to YOLO defer packs.
Dirk, didn't we talk about something last night that I wanted to bring up today?
Yes. We
What
were
was that?
discussing financial conditions and the bond market.
Oh, right. You still want to talk about that?
Yeah, we could. We could. I still think that the 5-10 year flattening at the beginning of the week was very interesting, especially given that everyone got fucking blown up on the trade at the end of the week.
Yeah, that part was interesting to me. It was just it was a very crazy week in terms of bond volatility.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was someone bought a bunch of bonds earlier on in the week, and then at the end of the week they just got fucking smashed.
Steamrolled, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, straight up crushed. So that was interesting. Um, ah, fuck, I forgot what I was talking about last night with that
You were
too.
pretty drunk,
I was very.
I think.
Yeah.
You kept trying to get me to try to fold other financial services businesses into our model. And where you were discussing this utopia where financial services companies are best friends and they dance hand in hand in a field of um equitable partnerships.
Oh my gosh, he's
I
not
just want
letting
to be
that
best
go
friends with
still.
Ken Griffin. Okay, that's all
Dude,
I want.
it's been vetoed. It's been triple vetoed.
I just want to be friends with Ken Griffin. Okay.
He's gonna hit you with a bedpost and lick mayonnaise off of your face.
Your unconscious face.
I mean, I'm into that sort of thing. So
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
Let's not threaten Dork with a good time.
wait, so
yeah,
what are you saying with bonds? I mean, bonds are just too expensive. That's pretty much the deal.
I mean, they're always going to be too expensive, right? Like, I, I just don't. I don't see anybody getting out of this anytime. Like, there's so much realized losses on the banks books that, like, I don't know. Any these moves in the bond market, I mean, they may be pretty big, but I think they're more. I think they're more indicative of a lack of excess liquidity than anything else.
I mean, it's just the bond market is the rates are pretty much being determined by the largest players who are underwater that have to either buy to keep the rates low or die. So they're just going to keep buying. But eventually it's still going to be under not they're just going to get more underwater over time because the
It's
debt
kind of
is
like
just too high.
it's like buying GME shares when you're down 75% on what you already full ported. You're not
Yeah,
going to
I
make
mean,
much of it.
banks don't really have any capability of rolling anything over, right? So we just get high rates until everything matures out in 10 years.
Yep.
That's the new but oh, let's talk about
But that's no, because
stagflation.
while that's happening, more bonds will be issued, right? Then they can roll into.
Well, I mean, presuming the treasury cuts off spending in order to
I
avoid
mean,
a downgrade, right? I mean, they've got to. They can't let debt
they
get downgraded.
the treasury can't cut off spending. They have to spend what Congress tells them to spend.
They can slow down the
Con-
rate of issuance, and then they can just spend money that's coming in from tax payments. They don't have to issue debt at the rate Congress wants, right? They just have to meet the budgetary demands.
yeah, but they have what, like $800 billion in the TGA that'll get drained in.
Yeah, and then they can just be like, we don't have anything. Sorry.
No, they can't.
A
That's
little bit.
terrible. That'll get them downgraded.
I don't think so. I think it has to come from Congress, and it's just, uh, yeah, they're not going to do anything until the bond starts throwing up. Do you want to talk about SPX? Did I lose you guys?
No, I'm still here.
Why aren't you guys
Stagflation.
talking?
I said stagflation, and then Dork disappeared.
I mean, I don't see the stack or the inflation, Girk.
You're so full of shit.
I am. Yeah. We're that was something I think we did touch on last night too, is
We
just
did,
like
yeah.
this whole thing where we're starting to see it. I mean, we've seen like the one crux of why this wouldn't be stagflation that all economists have been leaning on has been the historically low unemployment, right? And I think on Friday we kind of saw the first little cracks of it showing up.
I think all of last week we saw cracks, right?
In terms of employment, I think
Well,
Friday was
I think in terms of kind of what I've been saying for the last few months, and that like we don't have a sufficient labor pool, and so labor just appears to be hot, but it's really not, right? It's there's a ton of demand, but no actual labor pool with which to get employees from. So we're getting a lot of like false positives in the labor data that really aren't affecting labor conditions. We're still seeing wages rising. We're seeing expansion and growth, right? But it's all fueled by deficit spending. And then we're seeing equivalent expansion and inflation.
right. And I seem to remember my rebuttal to you is just, I mean, it's spinnable though is the one problem. Like you can spin that in a positive way,
You want to pop a
right?
chart up?
Yeah, you got a chart?
I see crayons and highlighter. I like this.
Ooh.
Yeah, crayons.
I'm gonna save this image and then I'm gonna put it on the stream.
This is my
Yep.
this is the thing I've showed many times before, but this is kind of the same story still playing out, updated with this morning.
I like that
The
you've just
newest
used
precious
the
data.
Microsoft highlighter
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah.
your
I put
especially for
zero
the
work into it.
especially for the zero line.
Yeah. I was like, I could plot a zero line, but I'm just gonna draw it because who cares? Yeah, it's actually the zero line is my favorite. I'm glad you noticed it. But yeah, so the things to note are the things I've colored green. Bottom is M2 growth, which is basically which popped up over 0% about a month ago, but now kind of flatlined, which I thought was kind of interesting and expected that to continue. So we're basically not making, but if you look at the top colored two lines there, the very tippy top is the rate of debt growth, or sorry, deficit growth. So that's basically the rate at which we have to issue bonds.
You gotta keep your
And then,
mic closer to your mouth because the noise canceling is cutting you off.
sorry, do I need to start over?
No, I think everyone's got the legend matched up with
Okay.
the lines.
Yeah. So bottom is in money growth, which is flat.
But
It was negative before, now
velocity is
it's flat.
still rising, right?
Velocity is kind of going up. It's slower though. You only get a velocity M2 uh, once a week,
Hmm.
updated monthly, but it gives you like
Yep.
yeah. So then so the top curve is rate of deficit growth, which is basically which bonds are being issued. So we're up like hopefully it will drop back down to around 7%, but right now on a year basis with it's a low compare, but it's 10% right now, which is fucking wild. So then the middle is nominal GDP. So how much the that includes both productivity gains and inflation, and that should match. And GDP is basically going to match the debt issuance. Um, you know,
He
pretty
said
well.
NGDP is gonna match the debt issuance. Yeah, your mic's still cutting out.
Hold on.
If you turn off the noise cancellation, like crisp or whatever on Discord, it'll probably stop doing that. It's just like where you trail off in the sentence. It's just silencing you.
Or you can just scream.
Is that different? Is that better?
So far.
Here,
We'll find out.
crisp. So, yeah. So then the GDP should grow with the U.S. debt, and what's interesting, the reason why rates have to continue going up is because we're not making money fast enough to absorb that debt, which means that the only way to absorb the debt without the rates going up is more leverage, and you can kind of see that trend. That trend is slow, but it has been as everybody takes on more leverage to absorb that debt, and eventually, people aren't going to want it without getting more return. And what's really interesting to me was so we just got new Federal Reserve Z tables on Friday, and that chart I like to put out, um, you know, stocks plus real estate over cash plus bonds actually went up more. It went up like 15% more, from 315% to 330%, because people don't want cash and bonds. They're taking all of their income and just dumping it into houses and the market, and it's just wild to me. So they can't both be going up for. I mean, leverage eventually has to conk out.
Well, I've watched Aladdin, and he never fell off the rug.
Yeah.
And
Wait, that's not true.
well, when he did, the rug like caught him.
Yeah, that's the Federal Reserve.
Yeah. Whole new world.
This time is different.
It's always different this time around.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that this is the developments lately in growth and wages and employment and inflation are all, I mean, at least in my mind, are pointing towards stagflation. And I understand that the more conservative economists are going to be like, well, this isn't the definition of stagflation, but I think we need to adjust that. I'm not going to change. I don't think I'm going to change my opinion on that anytime soon. I think we need to factor in the effect of government spending on growth. And I think we need to factor in the fact that our labor pool has shrunk by like 60%. And that's the reason that the labor market looks strong, but is inherently pretty fucking weak.
And, to be fair, they've changed the definition measure. So,
what was that?
Hold on, let me just change my mind.
All right.
Jayford sucks with teleconferencing, not gonna lie.
It's not his job. I'm not good at it either.
Is that any better?
Yeah.
All right.
That's way better.
All right.
Just can you real quick, can you just like groan into the end of a sentence? Like say something positive about Yellen. Perfect. All right, yeah, you're good.
Oh, speaking of Yellen, did you guys see that clip that kind of went viral of what's his face? That Kennedy guy from Louisiana, I think.
Brainworms?
Senator. Huh? No, not that Kennedy. Not wrong Kennedy. John Kennedy or someone. What's the guy's name? He's a senator from.
How did all the Kennedys?
Louisiana.
How did all the Kennedys end up in the South?
I don't know. But he's got a thick Southern accent. But he was talking to Yellen, some panel or something, and basically asking her why she's issuing short-term bonds to juice the market before the election. And Yellen's being like, bonds don't juice the market. Like short-term bonds don't juice the market. Yeah.
Infinite liquidity on 5% risk-free returns doesn't juice the market?
I hate her so much.
She's the worst. She really is.
She's so dishonest. That's the thing that makes me so angry. It's like this passive-aggressive dishonesty. They're all cowards. I've been calling people cowards a lot because I've noticed that everyone's just cowardly, and I'm tired of it.
Yeah, some people don't have the balls to come out and say that MOAS isn't real.
Don't you put that evil on me. You guys want to talk about it?
What?
You guys want to talk about SPX real quick?
Yeah, we should talk about SPX. I think the close under 5350 was pretty significant, given where short vol had terribly positioned themselves all week. They closed with a not small amount of their short puts out of the money. Well, in the money, actually. How do you feel about that?
I am still trying to identify precisely how I feel.
Well, we're
I
still sitting on
feel
that big fat stack of short calls that have never been closed.
right,
And that's what
but
makes me think that, like, without the support of the short puts at like 53.50, 53.60, we're in a bit of a precarious position. I don't know. Did any of the 53.25s roll out?
I mean, I'm not really seeing. I'm not seeing a ton of. So basically, yeah, I mean, basically a bunch of stuff below us expired and kind of collapsed a bunch of positive gamma going into next week. So we're
Yeah.
kind of sitting at this point where if you sell more puts, you can kind of prop it up against downside, but you can't really push it up anymore because selling puts is just going to cause the market maker to sell.
Yeah.
So someone's going to have to start buying something. They can't just sell puts to push it up anymore.
They can't do
And
that. They're already over leveraged on puts.
right. So yeah, it's a pretty precarious situation, and I'm all about it. I'm here
Speaking of
for
which,
it.
how is leverage? Total leverage ratio.
Oh, it looks like dog shit.
Is it just crazy high again?
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
it's
that's
pretty
what I
much as
thought.
high as it's been. If not, it's right on the cusp. I can show you guys. I was going to try to update. I haven't really updated those numbers in a long time, so I figured I was just going to throw it up on the twatter because I'm trying to get the data to be more better, but it's taking longer. So
You could just DM them to me.
could, but I wouldn't get enough attention and praise.
I can at everyone in the Discord and be like, look what JFresh made.
Hmm,
Yeah,
that could work.
it could.
That could work. Yeah. What's interesting is put lever or sorry call leverage is still it's a little elevated from its lows from a few months ago, but still kind of on a downtrend.
Yeah.
And puts are still just dead. What's really interesting though, if you and again this is excluding zero DTEs. So all the other stuff that's actually just going to persist on the chain, the volume on it is really low, and also the nominal value is really low. So more and more, like every day, it's actually kind of accelerating now. It's just all getting concentrated into zero DTEs. So I really do think we're starting to get to the point where uh, we're just going to start having enough volatility from selling volatility that it's going to start pressuring it to go the other way.
Well, yeah,
But
and
it's getting
the yield curve inverting even more steeply is not helping that.
it's getting actually ridiculous. Like the leverage ratio on puts this last week or two was in the like 30 to 40x range
Mm-hmm.
for like daily traded non-zero DTE, which is insane. Uh, I mean, this cannot continue. This simply can't continue. It's it actually boggles my mind how
We have
thin this is.
CPI and the FOMC SEP this week, right? So I feel like those will be enough to put the nail in the coffin of the rate cut projections, right? Because I don't see anything changing where the Fed's going to be like, oh, this is it. We can now cut rates, right? Because none of that data has shown
What
up.
if what if they do? But what if they do a hawkish E? It
Oh my
seems to be in
God.
vogue.
Don't get me started on the hawkish cut bullshit.
Well,
I've never
Why would
seen
they put
something
the
so
hawkish
stupid in my
E?
entire fucking life, right? That's just like a lot of people short the euro that were like, oh fuck, we need to write an article about how this isn't that bad. um, or I'm sorry, long
yeah,
euro. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Well, it's my favorite. Looking at like the ECB talking about to get enough votes to get the cut, they had to agree to raise their inflation projection. And it's just mind-boggling that they're like, "Oh, we're acknowledging that doing this cut is going to make inflation worse."
It's gonna
That makes
what?
that hawkish.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I
But it's
mean,
still somehow hawkish. It doesn't make
it's not, right? As it like filters through the bond and currency markets, you know, we already see the effect on dollar, right? Like dollar Dixie went up from like 104, like that day it dropped, right? But now it's like it's almost back at 105 again. USTs are up. Like there's no way to paint central bank divergence as a positive. Not in these conditions, right? Because the bond market's just going to continue to disagree.
Yeah.
The bond markets they're going to price up UST because you know the rates are now divergent and like, but they're not divergent enough that they can really explore like an alternate carry trade to Japan, right? So like we'd still need to see EU rates at like half of what the UST rates are at. Otherwise, like the fee from like the fees accrued during the like move on M2 velocity would exceed the profitability of trading the spread. And so like everyone still has to lean on Japan. Like that didn't change, but now like the euro is just weaker. And
Yeah.
that's also going to have a really big effect on like the euro dollar exchange, right?
Yeah, I have no
Yeah.
idea. I'm not a forex guy.
It's just it's not enough. Like the cut it kind of doesn't really do much outside of Europe and outside of Canada, whatever
What?
that
It
is.
does a ton.
What do you mean? Like domestically?
Yeah. It has a huge effect on the US.
Well, how so? We can't shift over to using leverage from them. I mean, like
Well,
the
because
requirement for
they use leverage in the US dollar.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
right,
because
right.
the
The
euro
whole other
USD
direction.
exchange rate is going to fall, right? All of their banks are using the euro dollar exchange
Yeah.
in order to reduce
Mm,
the fees, right? And so but that spread is going to widen.
okay.
So
Let
you're going to get capital outflows where investors are looking for the higher return in the UST, right? Or you know, competing bonds. And like maybe it'll have like some small effect on like economic stimulus, but it probably won't because of the adverse effect of the spread widening.
Okay.
Yeah, leverage is fun. It's a good thing we all started maxing it out as the started raising rates.
I'm doing my part, Jay Fresh.
Hey, so am I. I'm doing my part too.
Maybe I'll get out
But
another
we
long stream off
we
when I get
literally bought a diner or a purebred puppy in Michigan. My wife got on a plane just to fly to get it. We're doing our part. Spend money.
You're not spending hard enough.
I'll spend. I'll spend. I'll do it. I'll do it for my God and my.
I mean, yeah, these
Weaker euro is also going to make imports more expensive, which is going to probably increase inflation in the eurozone, which is probably why JFresh said they had to raise their interest rate projections.
Well, yeah.
But
I mean,
most of the shipping conglomerates are based out of Europe as well, right? So you can figure shipping prices are going to go up. That's going to pressure US PPI, which will eventually pressure US CPI more, right? So yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of links. I mean, just besides just the forex link. Yeah, I think it's going to be hugely impactful because I mean the Fed is looking at maybe even raising rates at some point, right? I mean, they may have to. And
Our
the euro,
Fed?
yeah, and the euro is cutting them.
No none of those cowards are going to raise rates again
They might
until
have
it's
to.
way too late.
Well, yeah, it'll be way too late, but I mean,
We're
they may
talking
have
like
to.
we're talking like a year out. We still have another year of them saying it'll go back down.
So maybe we'll cut at the next meeting, guys, for 8 months. Just keep that 0.25 cut priced into the Fed funds futures, even though it's never coming. I should really be trading Fed fund futures.
Maybe.
What's he gonna short him?
Can you go into details what it meant to end below 53.50? All right, so from like 53.15 all the way up to like 5400, there's a shitload of sold calls. Which, you know, are a big chunk of which were in the money into the end of this week. But they haven't sold off, like they haven't squeezed out, and the MM's still carrying the hedge on those. And so, because we closed below the big piles of sold puts at 53.60 and 53.50, those ended up cash settling in the money, which represents a loss. And we have financial conditions tightening, which means lower available leverage. And with the market maker as a net seller, even though the market maker is effectively a net seller, even though we're above gamma neutral because of all these sold calls. So on downside moves, the MM is going to dump their hedge on those sold calls, right? Because they're long those calls. And so as you know, price declines, delta, they're going to sell off delta. And so it puts us in a position where we're still very unstable, despite being above gamma neutral, where the market maker would generally be supportive.
Yeah, and the other part of it too is sold puts stop pushing the market up after about 53.60, right?
Yeah. Once we get above 53.60, we kind of hit that Vega max. Vega neutral, I guess.
Vega neutral,
yeah. And then above that point, when somebody sells puts, they're effectively pushing the market maker long vol, right? So we've been in this scenario a few times over the last year or so, where we've been above Vega neutral, and then put sellers get too aggressive, and the market just dumps back because eventually the MM is sold long enough puts that they start hedging them.
Yeah, that happened on Friday, right? It was about 53.60, and every time they sold a bunch of puts to rocket the market up over 53.60, it just dropped right back down on top of them.
Which was fun. So, I did get to buy puts on that a few times. And my obscene number of out of the money IWM puts printed, which was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand who.
Here's my question: if
that is always.
I still think that's something that no one's looking at. Everyone was talking about it for months, right? Like, oh, Brett is going to come in. There's money on the sidelines. RS equal weight and Dow.
They all read my Twitter and saw
R2000.
how I debunked all that.
Yeah, but you're not rubbing their faces in it enough, right? All of this breath is going to come roaring back in, and we're going to get a decade of solid broad growth, right? But everyone's been short as fuck IWM since like 2020, mid 2023, right? Just massive short positions on it, and they've almost squeezed them out a few times, but they really haven't. And those short positions have stayed entrenched, but over the last like month and a half, the long positions have just disappeared. Like, if you look at Russell, like the Russell index right now, nobody's fucking long anymore. And that's the cornerstone of the entire bull case, right? And there's no one in the fucking trade.
Yeah, well,
like the bull case is rates are gonna get cut. The fucking cash flow positive mid and small caps are gonna roar back to life, because they won't have to accrue debt, right? And they'll get over their maturity walls, and everything's gonna be perfect. But if that's the case, and that's what everyone's planning on, driving the next leg of market growth, Why the fuck is no one long? Like, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you look at IWM, look at RUT, look at look at the COT report on RTY. There's jack shit. Nobody's fucking long any of that garbage at all. It looks like nobody wants to even touch it, and there's still a massive short position.
Yeah. I mean, we also have like record concentration of the meme 7 and the SPX. Nobody's long anything in the SPX either.
Yep.
You have weird things like the SPY ETF is trading like lowest volumes in the last like 20 years. It's all just being propped up by this short vol trade, long meme 7 and short everything else. And no one's really like buying anything. It's wild. It's wild how far it's gotten without unwinding.
Yeah, no, that like I repeatedly say this, but just it's interesting to sit back and just think critically about what the market is pricing in. Like it's wild. Like we're basically saying these 7 companies are going to own 2/3 of America is what we're saying. And it just boggles the mind to think about that. And the even plausibility aside, it's just that this has happened, right? And no one seems to be batting an eye to the. I mean, people are pointing out the craziness of the concentrations and stuff, but even more so, is just the holistic description of what that means, right? It's a really, really bleak outcome, and it only points to a massive, debilitating recession. If that's really what's going to happen, if the market is correct, we're talking about so many unemployed people that it's unbelievable, and so much government stimulus and quantitative easing that it's also unbelievable. It'll
No, the
make
labor
COVID
market will
like
just stay strong because we don't need to employ that many people, and we don't have enough people to employ.
but there will actually break.
Here's my question: why aren't we looking at jolts as a measure of unemployment versus a measure of labor demand?
It's kind of a measure of both, right?
I mean, those are unfilled positions, right?
Kind of.
I mean, I feel like we should be looking at that data a little differently. Like,
it does strike me odd that these unfilled positions as being something bullish, and then them going down is also, but
also
it's
bullish.
it's just a very strange way to think about that metric because it is so peculiar. Like we have more demand for labor, have laborers,
Yeah.
but at the same time, unemployment's going up a little bit. Unemployment's not going down.
But
So
effectively, that's less people employed, right? Like, that's a signal that fewer people are employed in positions where they're needed. Which, I mean,
right,
yeah, I mean, I feel like that particular data set gets looked at incorrectly in our current environment. I'd say if we
it's
had a
just
robust labor pool, then yeah, obviously, like more job demand and plenty of people to fill those jobs, great. But we don't have that. So when are the boomers gonna unretire and come back to work? Do we have to wait for the market to crash? Because
yeah, I don't
I went
know.
into a Walmart the other day and no one greeted me.
Oh God, that's so terrible.
I stood there at the entrance, like waiting. And just no one
Why did
came
you
up.
go to? What were you getting in a Walmart?
I was upstate, and I wanted to get an energy drink because I was falling asleep at the wheel of my car. And they have Walmarts upstate. And I was like, I'm gonna go into a Walmart and see what they're like nowadays. And I went in, and no one greeted me.
That's
Additionally,
awful.
there was nobody at the registers. I had to check myself out.
Yeah, that's gotten pretty bad. I can't remember the last time I went. I don't like Walmart. It
I used to love Walmarts when I was younger.
The thing with Walmart is it's loud. There's all sorts of sounds that are unpleasant. I don't like the noises in Walmart. My
Well,
wife doesn't either. I think it's something that we have a share in common. We don't like a lot of unnecessary noises, which is funny because we have pets and 3 kids.
So I spent like 2 years of my 20s working for this like just like wow, they were a liquidation and distribution company, and I had to travel a lot, right, and usually by car, because they were cheap, um, and like Walmarts in the middle part of the country were always just open. Like everything else would be closed in these like bumfuck nowhere towns. Um, like even like the hotels and stuff would close, and like but Walmart would be fucking open. So
Yeah.
I just like go to Walmart's and like I'd like get snacks and fucking, and then
Get yourself.
keep
Now you can
driving.
get yourself a Subway sandwich at like noon.
Yeah, yeah. And keep driving to wherever I was going, and so it was interesting to go back to one and see how much they've changed. Because I mean, there's no WalMarts in the city at all, or really anywhere near the city.
Yeah, everything's bullish. Everything looks great. AI's chugging
Question:
along.
Why do higher interest rates increase demand for that currency? Ooh, attractiveness of greater returns. Interest-bearing assets, denominated in the dollar, have greater returns. So you're going to get people that want to sell the euro, buy the dollar, and then buy, U.S. bonds, U.S. savings, futures. Commodities are denominated. A lot of commodities are denominated in the dollar, right? It increases demand for the dollar because you want to use the dollar to buy, dollar collateralized assets, which have a higher yield.
So I wanna this up too because this is part of the narrative shift that needs to play out for the to correct. Chamath has gotten on board the
Math?
Chamath,
Oh,
the Indian dude from
yeah.
Facebook or wherever. He's
And
gotten
was
on from what's the All In podcast? I don't know what it's called.
The guy who went long that
He
shitty.
was like pushing SPACs.
Yeah, he kept trying to push
Like
SPACs and he like paper handed
he made
GME.
a bunch of people lose a ton of money on those SPAC
Yeah.
speculation. But anyway, he's a popular guy for whatever reason, and he's starting to get on with the apparent channel stuffing and circle jerking of Nvidia.
Oh.
He kind of thinks that that's pretty suspicious. So narrative shift continuing as it continues not to make money
Yeah.
and more money
People
gets put
people are
in.
starting to get nervous because they've overextended
Yep,
themselves. I
yep.
love it. Yeah, I've been
He
noticing more and more, like opinion pieces and stuff that are kind of tearing down the illusion of generative AI.
Yeah, I think it's great. It needs to happen.
It will.
And
It will. It's just taking forever.
it's taking so
Can
long.
you just let me know
But
when the delta on Nvidia's options chain post split drops to under its like 90-day average?
sure.
Because
Yeah, I mean
I would like to buy puts that day.
right now unfortunately the Nvidia change still looks kind of bullish, but you never know
Well, the
what's
split
gonna
isn't
happen.
happened yet, right? Isn't the split
Yeah, I
this
know.
week?
It's happening on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's split. The final day to buy for the split was Thursday, but then Friday they did. I think what GME did issued due bills to people to buy on Friday, and so then on Monday everyone will have their 10-to-1.
It's gonna be very exciting.
Remember
As
that?
long
Who was
as
it?
as long as
Remember the
Atomic
people?
remembers to split adjust it.
Remember the people who were trying to game the fact that there's a whole day where you can trade GME, and,
Oh,
like you won't get the shares.
yeah, I remember that. Everyone was like, I can sell all my GME and then I'm gonna get all my split shares tomorrow. That was some funny shit.
Yeah,
I
but in
tried I
preparedness for
tried my
this, it's
best
like,
to like put out the message that that's not how it worked at all, but I
yeah.
guarantee
Well,
there was
yeah.
a number greater than zero who did that.
Well, that's when we all learned what a do bill. And now the
Um,
video's doing it, do Bill, and we all can understand it, and it's not a surprise.
that's true. That's true. Anything to say on the end of petrodollar contracts today? No. I mean, do people really think the Saudis are going to remove their mouths from the teat of the U.S. Treasury? They can print their own fucking dollars. Why would they ever give that up? They're not going to give that up so they can go run away to BRICS, where they can develop some worthless currency backed by the China's faltering economy.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like that's going to happen anytime soon.
If they do that, that'll be the stupidest thing they ever do. Also, Halliburton will go to $1,000 a share. So I'm okay with that. Because the US will start producing more fucking oil than Saudi, or like all of OPEC combined, within 5 years.
Oh, did I miss my entry?
And
on
those countries
Thursday?
will die. I mean, there's no fucking way they try to do that. I can't think of a stupider thing than to give up dollar dominance to try to create their own shitty currency. I can't believe this brick shit's coming up again. God.
All right, maybe this is time to end it.
Maybe. What about our favorite metric, the SPX VIX?
Oh, I haven't looked at that in forever. It was so broken. Stop.
If you do print it out, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I could do that later today.
I do know it's fucked, but it'd be interesting because we are at all-time highs, but VIX is also higher.
Yeah, VIX is a little higher. Does JFresh still think that the dispersion exeter transition is in play? I mean, I think that there was evidence of people trying to get out of it,
All my
but
charts switch to this bullshit.
no.
Oh yeah,
I mean, things changed.
Look at Bondfall on Friday. It went down like 10 points. Hey, USD JPY rocketed back to 8.4x leverage.
Nice.
Healthy.
Yeah, I saw it popped back up.
Fucking look at Dixie go. Tonight's gonna be an interesting night. We'll say that much.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say.
Yeah.
Oh, heads up too. I won't be home next week. So
Oh shit,
Wait, does that mean up or down?
It usually means down, but he's not leaving during OPEX, which I specifically instructed him to do. Yeah, I know. He's just like taking his work time whenever he feels like it now.
that's true.
Outside of market cycles.
Is WWDC tomorrow the Apple event?
You think that's gonna be enough to juice anything?
No, it's just I think it's an interesting wrinkle because they're gonna announce some bullshit.
We have like no data tomorrow at all. I think there's a 3-year note auction at 1 o'clock. Ooh, those will be pretty important if they're more than like 10 billion.
Yeah, Apple's expected to be unleashing AI, Apple Intelligence, next week. So that's something to keep an eye on as FOMO thing that people. I mean, I think that's why Apple's been kind of frothy still. Else has kind of been wild because people are speculating on Apple Intelligence and then telephones, where that is.
Upcoming auctions. All right, what do we got? We got 13, 26, and 52 week at 70, 70, and 46 billion respectively. Ooh, we got a big 3-year auction, 58 billion.
Nice.
But the 30 and the 10-year are a bit. They're actually not bad. The 10 years
What's
for almost 40 billion. 39.
Ooh, nice.
and the 30-year is 22 billion.
That's small.
We have a tips 5-year auction on the 20th. That'll be important
Next,
too.
yeah, that'll be interesting.
And
That was hot last time.
we got a 42-day auction also, 60 billion.
It's not bad.
Yeah, the 3-year and the 10-year look very interesting. I'm very interested in where the 10-year lands, because that's enough that demand's gonna probably fall short.
Yeah, I think there's a good shot. We'll see though. I mean, that's the thing though with Canada and Europe cutting rates though, that might be enough to boost that. Be enough to hold it short term. We'll see.
Kirk told me Nvidia 100 last quarter won. Well, it didn't happen. Anyone playing the Chipotle 50-1 stock split? No, I'm not playing this. I'm not playing the Nvidia stock split either. Afterwards, maybe, but not initially. U.S. allows their long-range missiles to be used in Russia. They target diesel refineries. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I mean next week it really. I mean Wednesday's everything, right? I think we're probably going to be flat through Wednesday, and then Wednesday's just going to be wild. Who knows?
Tom Lee said 5,500 end of June. He hasn't been right this entire year. Like he burned out all the time on his clock last year.
Yeah, this week's gonna be fun. Always a fun time. Monday, Tuesday's gonna be boring, probably.
Here, let me help you out then. Energy's going to get weird in second half, especially if hurricane season is as bad as being hyped. Yeah, that'll affect U.S. refineries a lot. All right, projections for this week.
Are we gonna do the new rules? I think we did.
Are we? Who won? Fuck. Hold on.
I think it was Gert because he picked the bullish and I picked the bearish of our projections.
I mean, technically, Dork was closer to spot at the end of the week.
Oh,
yeah,
nice job, Dork.
Woohoo!
So remember the potential new rules that we talked. We all just like pick a curve and then we rank them. So we all draw a curve, rank which ones we think is most likely.
But then who wins?
I don't know. Well, that was the point. I don't know. Let's just do it the old way. We haven't thought this through enough.
All right.
Yeah, Jay Fresh, what you're saying sounds too much like actually trying to make a realistic prediction.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I'm going first since I won. Okay. Let me think here. I have to go to SPX because it's not going to be the right thing to use. All right. So, okay. Open flat. And then let's see. No data on Monday. Yeah. So 53.60 by end of day Monday. And then 53.45 end of day Tuesday. 53.60 end of day Wednesday. 53.45 end of day Thursday. 53.60 end of day Friday.
Oh my god. I can't believe you just made him do
This is the worst prediction I've ever seen. All right, I'll go next.
You're gonna take mine. I know it.
Probably.
So far, not.
I like it so far, though.
hate you both. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right.
I'm liking this.
You did kind of take mine.
Hold on.
Oh man, I forgot I was out of town. Shoot, Girk's right.
Okay, so flat in see.
Wait, what?
Flat into win
Into Wednesday? Okay.
into yeah. So then 5,000.
5,000?
Yeah.
Oh, hold
I
on.
like it.
I gotta fucking.
Jesus,
That's way too bearish. Oh,
I don't think it's bearish enough.
I think it's amazing.
it's just how I feel this week.
That's fair.
It's the I'm choosing.
All right, let me get the screenshot for the.
All aboard Team J Fresh. Well, you're gonna be really popular until Wednesday.
Yeah, these aren't real, guys.
I mean, I try to put some effort into it, but I haven't looked at the options data.
I mean, we're openly laughing at these. Obviously, take that for what it's worth.
You should do the path and then count whoever hits the most candles on the 4-hour. But then Dork
No.
and J Fresh would never win. Or yeah. J Fresh's would be great because of the 0 DCs. This is he's projecting a fucking 6.5% drop by end of week. I mean, yeah, I'd love that, but it's not OPEX. I mean, come on.
Perfect time for a rug.
Everybody expects it next week. It's the Keynesian view.
Oh yeah.
The cool thing is, if my projection is right, we're gonna rip back to 5,300 the following week.
Yeah, I mean that seems most likely. We're just kind of pinned up MMY Vega. Just sold puts are running everything.
Called a correction? No, this that happened over like 6 weeks. That's a correction, right? Like this is just a crash.
No, it's not.
2% a day for 3 days. With the leverage ratios where they're at right now.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, it'd be awesome. I still have my Vega 2Ds, so I'm ready to ride on the hype train if you start getting close to right.
I'm not changing it.
You do know that your projection means that JPOW has to not be a cuck for the first time in a year and a half.
Yeah, I know.
It's a lot. You're betting a lot on the balls of that man.
I mean, it's literally a joke. Meme. It's not a real projection.
I know.
My projections. I mean, if we end up trading in a $15 range all week, I'm sure that all of you are gonna have like nothing but gray hair left.
Just sell condors.
Girk, selling options is illegal.
Only if you're a popcorn trader. That's because of his Somali law license.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. He'll get disbarred in Somalia if he sells options, but that has nothing to do with anybody else.
Well, I've heard losses on options.
If we trade $15 all week, I'll be poor.
I gotta eat lunch. I'm gonna fall.
Yeah, I got stuff to do. Thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, bud.
Yeah, always fun.
All right, I'll catch you later.
See you in 3 hours.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. If you have any questions and you weren't able to get them to me today, feel free to hit me up on the Discord. I will try to address them when I get the chance. And I'll be putting Pickles picks out tonight, hopefully a little earlier since we have all the data already up already. So I'd like to get them out by 12 or 1 o'clock. Did I miss Mag 7? No, we didn't do it, but I'll whatever looks promising I'll write up in the Pickles picks tonight. All right, you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see you tomorrow. Later.